Kirk Ferentz takes the podium at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis for Big Ten Media Days, his first official address to Hawkeye Nation, just 1 week out of the start of fall camp. What did we learn? This instant reaction edition of the show. We'll talk about it in just a moment. But first, I want to thank Iowa Floor Covering down in Bondurant. Whether you have a flooring project in the works or not, perhaps you're planning for the future, give them a call. Give IFC a call. Tyler, Ryan, Brian, and the guys down at Iowa Floor Covering in the great town of Bondurant. Check it all out at iowafloorcovering.com or call them 515-379-7000. And as I've mentioned before, hey, just give them a call to thank them for being a part of this network. 515-379-7000. We really appreciate the unconditional support of Iowa Floor Covering down in Bondurant. So, Kirk Ferentz has addressed the media. He took the podium this morning after sort of an awkward start to the day. UCLA head coach Deshaun Foster, who is new to the scene, has never been a head coach, certainly not at this level, ever before. And he took the podium in sort of an awkward moment where he kind of stumbled and then had a long, awkward pause. And maybe I'll do another video about this because it was a very bizarre start to the day and very bizarre start to his address of the media and tenure as the UCLA head coach. But anyways, Kirk Ferentz took the podium as the number 2 guy out of the gates today. What did we learn? Well, first of all, Iowa released a pre-fall depth chart just about 30 minutes prior to Kirk's arrival at the podium. And we'll run through kind of my observations from the official depth chart in a separate video. But one thing Kirk said during his opening statements is that the team is healthy. It doesn't appear that there are any significant injuries, although there are a couple of people that were missing on the depth chart that I'm curious about. But that is a good thing to hear from Kirk. Now, we have all of fall camp ahead of us. We know what happened last year with Cade McNamara going down during Kids Day and then, of course, being lost for the season early in the year. Same thing with Luke Lachey and Eric All. But the bottom line is it's good news that they're healthy heading into the start of fall camp. This is a quote from Kirk Ferentz as it relates to the defense. He was quoted as saying, "We are as veteran as I can remember," speaking about that defense. But he also referred to the offense as veteran. Of course, the offense has been bad. I do think it's funny. Kirk made the comment a couple of different times, and I've heard him say this in the past, that we haven't been the best offensively the last couple of years. He should say the last 3 years because they have been horrid for 3 straight years now, from 21 to 23. Of course, a lot of questions from the media today about Tim Lester. Kirk very complimentary about Coach Lester, described the transition for Coach Lester and the transition to this new Shanahan-style offense as seamless. But he did bring up the point that, hey, we've got a lot of work ahead of us over the next 4 weeks or so. Kirk made a point of saying that everything is fluid. He was asked about the quarterback position because you've got Cade McNamara listed as the starter, and a lot of people expected Brendan Sullivan to compete for at least number 2, if not number 1. And right now, Marco Lainez is listed as number 2, but they've never seen Brendan Sullivan in a Hawkeye uniform. Kirk brought that up, so not a big surprise there that we see the depth chart list 3 guys and Marco Lainez, who's the returning backup in that second spot. He was quoted as saying, "Nobody's entitled to positions." That was refreshing to hear. I think sometimes there's this perspective that Kirk is just going to go with an incumbent, even if there's a young guy that's nipping at the heels, because he's the incumbent. And I think it was nice to hear that out of Kirk's mouth. Whether or not that actually transpires, we'll see. I have made the comment that I think Brendan Sullivan should have every opportunity at winning the starting job. I think doing what he did at Northwestern as the starter, I'm not saying it's as difficult as taking Michigan to the Big Ten championship game, but they're very different places. Both those guys, in their time as starters at those 2 respective Big Ten schools, put up good numbers, good completion percentages. And I think both guys, this should be a healthy battle heading into fall camp. Kirk did refer back to Cade as the starter, pointing out the 2021 Big Ten title game. He loves to bring that game up because he impressed Kirk Ferentz during that beatdown of the Hawkeyes, that 42-3 win in Lucas Oil Stadium just a couple of years ago. And of course, Kirk was back in that same stadium today. So I think the bottom line is Kirk still views Cade as the starter, but we would hope that if Brendan Sullivan impresses during fall camp, that Tim Lester and the performance of Brendan could at least maybe make Kirk Ferentz think twice about just anointing Cade as the incumbent starter. Very few specific questions as it relates to the roster. Now, Kirk Ferentz will likely speak poolside to some media people. We didn't hear from Tom Kakert of HawkeyeReport.com. We had a couple of local people get some questions in, but pretty broad in scope. And so I'm guessing there will be some other questions like, hey, where is Jazzy Patterson on the depth chart? Why has John Nestor been so impressive? How has he been so impressive? He's listed as a starter on that depth chart. Camp starts a week from today, so keep that in mind. We'll learn more from Kirk Ferentz during that poolside style availability, likely this afternoon, I would guess, if not this morning still. But those are my takeaways from the open availability at the podium from Kirk Ferentz. Didn't learn a ton, but he did talk about how veteran this team is and how impressed he's been with Tim Lester. So from a broad perspective, those are all positive things, but we would expect nothing less. Stay tuned. My reaction from the pre-fall depth chart coming very soon, and we'll get more reaction as we hear more from Kirk Ferentz at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I'm Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We'll talk to you soon.